Officially, Epstein offed himself, but you would need to believe that so many different things simultaneously failed. Cameras, guards, protocols, paperwork, all by accident. As you can probably tell, I'm not convinced because 10 coincidences isn't a coincidence. It's a plan. I am not claiming I know what happened. All I'm saying is that the official story doesn't make sense. Let's start with recent stuff that most people don't know. Immediately after Epstein's first alleged suicide attempt, he told staff that his cellmate tried to kill him. He didn't say he tried to commit suicide. He didn't say there was tension. He didn't say there was a fight. He was describing a murder attempt. Prison psychologists naturally begin to investigate, but they can't figure out what actually happened. Was it a suicide? Was it assault? They basically just label it a potential suicide attempt and then decide to move on. However, 6 days later, Epstein's lawyers float the idea of cooperation with prosecutors and the FBI. Epstein appears to have been interested in working with the feds in order to resolve his very serious criminal case. As we're all finding out, Epstein had a lot of valuable information. But here's where things get darker. One day before Epstein's death, federal prosecutors in New York drafted a statement about Epstein's death. For what it's worth, I searched SDNY archives but could not find a single press release about a defendant dying mid-prosecution. None. But the statement is weird in its own right. It's dated August 9th, but Epstein was found dead on August 10th. It's also dated Friday, but he was found dead on Saturday. It also says the Manhattan U.S. Attorney. That is not how the U.S. Attorney labels himself because that's not his official title. It also uses language that the SDNY virtually never uses. Emotional, victim-focused, explaining the cause of death in some detail. Usually, SDNY press releases are very procedural, very fact-based, and don't include a lot of that soft, mushy kind of statement. Frankly, the statement itself is very unusual, and it reads like someone who already knew the ending, and that's probably why people don't trust the official story. Oh, and did I mention that there was a corrections officer who worked at the New York prison where Epstein died, and that corrections officer reported seeing documents being shredded and thrown away right after Epstein's death. We don't know if that tip was ever followed up on. Now, you stack everything that I just said on top of everything else that I've already mentioned in my first Epstein video. Epstein was put on suicide watch, but very quickly removed. Epstein's cellmate was transferred out of his cell the day before Epstein died. Both guards fell asleep at the same exact time so that they didn't check on Epstein. Both guards falsified their logs to cover it up. Then multiple cameras malfunctioned, and some cameras are still missing chunks of time. On top of that, Epstein had neck fractures that a veteran forensic pathologist called extremely unusual for someone who hung himself. At a certain point, I stopped asking how many things went wrong and started asking who needed them to go wrong. With that said, I do need to do a quick reality check on a few things that have been circulating on the internet, just to make sure you're getting accurate information. There's been some talk about a mess related to the handling of Epstein's body, a decoy body used for the press, sloppy transport. All of this happened after Epstein died, and certainly sketchy, but it reeks of incompetence rather than a conspiracy. These last 2 points are important. One relates to a Fortnite account that was allegedly linked to Epstein that went active in Israel after Epstein died. Really, the only link that we found was a username that matches Epstein's YouTube name and a redacted email that references V-Bucks. Fortnite checked their records and confirmed there was no connection between the account and Epstein. Then lastly, we also have seen a photo circulating of someone who resembles Epstein walking around in Israel, and that photo appears to have been AI generated. I think in terms of a bottom line, I don't buy the idea that Epstein is still alive, but I also don't buy the idea that he committed suicide. In my view, he was cornered. He was clearly willing to talk to the feds. He had dirt on a lot of powerful people. And as we know, dead men can't snitch. In my next and likely final part, I'll cover Epstein's alleged connections to various intelligence communities. I'll read the fine print so you don't have to. Remember to like, follow, and drop a note if you want me to cover a specific topic.